I'm going to use the microphone so people can hear me at the back. My name's Steve Bolt from Redfern Legal Centre. I want to put a question to Jack in the way of asking for a comment. We at Redfern Legal Centre, for all the reasons that Jack and the other speakers have outlined, support drug law reform and support it as a matter of some urgency. It's just, in our view, time that we started to do things about drug law reform, including convening meetings such as this and whipping up the masses into a frenzy about the need for the law to change. One of the things in particular that we're concentrating on is to develop a discussion paper which would deal with cannabis and other substances like heroin and cocaine and so on, but to develop a discussion paper which would go to, in some detail, the policy about how we would deal with drug use and drugs in our society without relying in the way that we do now on the criminal law to create the total prohibition on cannabis and other substances. So what we've done is we've put together a discussion paper. I'm just going to run through a few of the points in that and ask Jack to comment on some of those points. And I might just, before I do that, just invite anyone here, if you want to get a copy of that paper, either grab me after the meeting or contact us at Redfern Legal Centre. We're in the phone book. I won't trouble you with addresses and phone numbers, but just contact us at Redfern Legal Centre. Some of the issues that we suggest as a way of dealing with cannabis, and I might say just quickly that we should deal with different drugs differently, and some of these would not apply to other drugs, but some of the key factors about how we propose in our discussion paper to deal with cannabis would be to make it legal for people to own small quantities and to grow small quantities of cannabis, make it legal to consume, to smoke dope in public, with the exception of wherever tobacco smoking is prohibited for all the reasons that that's prohibited. Cannabis smoking should be prohibited, but otherwise it should be open to smoke it in public or otherwise consume it. To supply in small quantities should be legal. To grow large commercial quantities should be legal, but subject to government licensing and government regulation. And of course, all profits sold from the sale of cannabis to either for smoking or for the other industrial uses, paper, hemp, and paper, rope, and so on, would attract the appropriate level of taxation on the profits, and essentially to establish a regime where price was, through that licensing system, the price of cannabis would be set largely by the government as well as by market forces, and we'd be suggesting a price for a reasonably strong joint to be roughly equivalent to a reasonably strong alcoholic spirit drink, like a double scotch, say $5 or $7 to buy a joint that'll get you completely ripped in an outlet. So those sorts of ideas are in our discussion paper. We invite comment from people generally, and in particular I invite Jack now to make comment.
Well, I proposed a law in California which we're going to start collecting signatures for in a few months, and in the middle of June. If any of you come over, we'll put you to work. Our law says that anybody can grow up to 48 ounces of marijuana bud, flower tops. And after that, they would not be criminals. They just have to pay a tax like Baron de Rothschild wine or Gallo wine or whatever your wine companies are here, pay $100, $200 a year tax and declare themselves a hempery. That no farmer be charged that the farming of cannabis is so natural and so necessary that no tax ever be placed against cannabis, because it's a contradiction in terms. If cannabis is the useful plant that we see, any tax on it is a restriction on using the most useful plant to replace the most poisonous things on earth, from petroleum and fossil fuels such as coal. But I mean, basically I kind of agree with the philosophy of the thing about taxing it. We suggest that the maximum tax be $10 per ounce. After $10, the reason it shouldn't be more is we feel that if it's going to be too much, people are just going to break the law anyway. They're going to grow more than they should and shouldn't pay for it. We don't want a nation of lawbreakers. So you grow 48 ounces each person. If you got 3 people living in a house, you can grow 130 some ounces. It's enough. It's enough for you to stay stoned. And you can really grow good pot when you got your mind to it. And I don't say, in my opinion, I believe if you teach all the people all the information and you do it over and over and over and over and over again, and you never get tired of getting in their face or getting in their ear and teaching them unique ways about the information and telling them another unique way to look at the information till they get it, we are going to win and win big, because it just keeps growing. There were nobody in the United States just 15, 20 years ago. Just 10 years ago, there were still only 100, 200,000. Today, we have 40 million, and we're becoming a hell of a noise in the United States. Yes?
My name's Neville Birch. I was busted for dope in '92. 3 days later, became a member of HIM. I'm also a member of the International Socialist Organisation. And I agree with just about everything that Jack's Whitney was talking and said tonight. I think it's absolutely brilliant. But what it goes to show is that we can't trust the government to regulate dope. Even if we decriminalise, we can't trust them to regulate it. The money's still going to go into big businesses' hands, and we're still going to be on the black market buying our pot, and we're still going to be criminals. You know, there's nothing that we can do past regulating it ourselves, taking it to the government. We've all got to act, come together, and fight and say we want this legal. When I read Jack's book, I looked at it and I said, how many other things, how many other issues are they hiding from us? You know, how much don't we know about what's good for this world? And the only way is, as the gentleman said before, is disobedience, civil disobedience, get out on the street, tell people, go to rallies, support other rallies as well, third runway rallies, anything that's going on at the time, tell people about it, and be disobedient, because it's the only way we can get something.
You're here. I agree with you. Any other questions? It could be for Lynn or me or Ann.
I think it's very careful. I think it's very important to guard against false positive. I mean, all this information sounds brilliant, and I don't doubt that a large amount of it is true. But the thing that is going to shoot the case down in flames is providing false positive, something that is just too much of an exaggeration. And so it's not credible. I mean, for instance, if this drug is going to be widely available, surely it needs the same sort of health warnings as any other drug. I mean, it's imbibing anything, I mean, smoking anything has got to be injurious to your health.
Well, if you live longer than people that don't do any drugs, you live 24 years longer than people that use alcohol and tobacco, and they don't give you any warnings with alcohol and tobacco, and they'll notice this may be injurious to your health.
No, in Australia you do get warnings with alcohol, or not with alcohol so much, with tobacco. I mean, if you have a look at any cigarette packets now here, it says, you know, smoking kills, or it isn't, you know, it has adverse effects on pregnancy, or will give you lung cancer. I mean, surely there's consideration. I'm a dope smoker. I occasionally smoke dope. I'm not a regular smoker. But I think that you have to have health warnings and information.
In the United States, there's been considerable medical research. One of the long-term studies is done by Dr. Donald Tashkin at UCLA, and Jack is part of that 20-year-long survey. He goes in once a year, and Dr. Tashkin checks his lungs, his respiratory response, him and several other people for the last 20 years. And so far, the only physical damage that would concern you that this medical doctor has come up with is irritation of the large bronchial passageways, which if this happens, he's found that simply stopping smoking will remove all those symptoms. He's never come up with a single case of cancer and a single case of emphysema from his study group that's over 20 years long. Now,
It does sound too good to be true.
Well,
I mean, is this a huge study? I mean,
it's the largest, most longest term study to date in the world. So that's that from the medical profession. There's a longer study in the world that's been going on for over 6,000 years now, of people freely smoking marijuana. It's only in the last 40 years that it's been.
A publication which you might be interested in viewing would be the National Task Force on Cannabis report from last year. It is one of the most comprehensive medical studies in the medical section, and I think of importance here is a little known fact about a substance generally regarded to as anandamide, which is basically your bodies are designed for cannabis. You have a cannabinoid modulator that is produced within your body, and you have an endemic system which is designed to deal with cannabis and metabolize it, whereas alcohol is toxic basically to any cell that it encounters.
I've actually looked at the anandamide receptor. It doesn't physically resemble cannabis. It has simple binding sites. Look, I'm for cannabis.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that if you're going to have cannabis and for cannabis,
It's good to bring up these things. We're not saying that everybody should run out and start smoking cannabis whether they want to or not. That's not what we're trying to say. We're just saying that those that want to shouldn't be thrown in prison. And some people may have problems with smoking it. It may irritate their lungs, in which case they should stop smoking it. Can we have some more questions, or do we have time?
There seems to be a lack of motivation among marijuana smokers. I don't find them the most highly charged group in society. I don't think that I'm wrong. Okay, I don't want to live in a brain dead world. I mean, I want him too. Clothes are great. The fuel is great. But the environment is great. Because it's going to hurt us. Medically, it's going to bring on schizophrenia. It's going to kill our motivation. We need to be careful.
It's an exception.
If you feel like you're becoming, less motivated from smoking marijuana, then stop smoking. But that's not a problem that everybody faces. A lot of people smoke marijuana and they look around at, what the hell am I doing with my job? I don't want to go work at this stupid ass job and end up being, like in the United States, you don't get your retirement, you get screwed over at the end and say, why get involved?
That's not fiction, that's fact.
What's a fact? What facts?
No, we're talking about.
I thought you were talking about motivation, amotivational syndrome. That's not necessarily a fact. It hasn't stripped my motivation, but we can't get into personal. Maybe for you it strips your motivation, in which case you should quit smoking. Maybe they should all quit.
Regarding mass energy, before I say that, I eat too much sugar and it gets me off my face. I think mass energy is something that we're looking at every day because we know that it's destroying our atmosphere, our environment and our living style. And I'd like to know your comments on dealing with mass industry that owns these mass energy like coal boards and the likes of industry like that. And have you communicated with them and have you sold them this idea of mass production of hemp? And are they taking it on board? Because if these are the big boys with the money, if these are the big boys that are influencing lobbying parliaments and congresses around the world, can you not sell them this idea, saying, look, you can make a shitload of money out of this. Now please, why don't you invest in the Midwest of America? I believe there's farmers that are going out of business. There's land that's standing there. Can it not be used? Have you done that? Just, why is the media ignoring this?
I don't think they're ignoring it. I think that they are getting it in increments like any new enterprise. We are not General Motors or Hearst newspapers. For instance, in my political organization, this may be different than yours, in 23 years, we've never asked the public for 1 penny. We have funded this 100% out of the pockets of Captain Ed and me and a very few other people, and we happen to make enough money to fund this as best we could, a couple $100,000 a year, and we decided not to ask the public for money. What we always asked the public was for their energy to join us in an initiative to help us teach everybody this information, to go to the old folks' homes who will welcome you kindly and go in there and teach people, 50, 70 of them at a time, about hemp. And these people all vote. They vote their Social Security checks, their whatever you call it here in Australia. These people vote. They don't know this information. And at first, they're very turned off by being told about cannabis, about marijuana. And then you tell them all about it, and they remember it from their childhood, and they said, that's marijuana? That's what we're doing. We're teaching people. I would like to go out and ask for millions of dollars, but every time I've gone out and I've seen people ask for money, they have I've never seen any of the people that got money get any more of this education, it seems, out. That the only way to get it out was like I'm doing here, teach it to people, for you guys to go to your neighborhoods, to your cities and schools, and teach this to everybody. Such as a zealot, without being physically mad at the world. You don't want to blow it up. You just want to get them to blow a little smoke. The newspapers, I've never thought of going into Exxon or Arco and trying to get an appointment with the president to tell him to buy pot, you know, to get rid of the oil and get it to Canada. And it's not a bad idea. I just never had that idea that they would let me in the office, and I guess I just copped out and thought I'd keep hammering at their dam until it cracked.
There's one more question down the back there, Jack.
You've got a good question there. I should go to them.
I'm not sure if this guy's talking the same as me, but I'm trying to figure out if it's been banned around the world. For the last 60 years, there's got to be some pretty big industries that make a lot of money out of their industry, which isn't here. Then why on earth are all these industries that are in totally different industries, like, you know, like all the ones that you've just listed, then why are they going to suddenly stop? Like the problem with the loggers at the moment, they still the dairy industry because of wood chipping and imports and things like that, and they were going to lose their livelihood and not be able to feed their families. Then how do you do that transition from these industries that are producing these other things that aren't so friendly into coming into hemp without losing a lot of money and without going broke altogether?
You're right, but you got to teach them. I don't know any other way. Do you guys know some other secret way that I'm missing? Teach the information over and over. Nobody can stand up to the information. Some of you may have your doubts about it. We offer you $30,000 to make your doubts real. If you got a real doubt about it, you find some proof or evidence to back you up. We go to the agricultural colleges in America, to 40, 50, 60 of them a year. And they come out and the agriculturals tell us we're right. I think probably we're right after 1,500 college visits and nobody's come up with a better answer. Yes, sir.
Off the University of Western Sydney car parks, like 2 years ago, studies, things like that, how we can get converted. And big business, amazingly, everyone here seems to be thinking about it, will make a change. Because it's voluntary. My study involved economics at positive effects for marijuana smokers or paper production, reducing chemical loads, pre-negotiation. But also, why do they do it? Because there's a dollar. APPN in Tasmania 2 years ago were secretly holding trials at growing hemp to make paper. Because they knew in 10 years' time, we're all going to have a big outcry about what crap we're putting in the ocean. It's dead, it's dioxins. Tons of dioxins from paper making process. Incredibly inefficient. Without hemp, they save lots of money and they stay in our business. It's worth it. These industries that don't want to change, it's going to go. It's as simple as that. They can't afford not to change. In 10 years' time, it's not going to be like today. Environmental restrictions will be incredible. If they don't change, I go under. But it's important that we're positive, and these companies realise they can change. If they're smart, we've got smart people running, so I'll see if we go with it, and it's a good future. They make money, and we're happy to provide it.
Good.
Cynical like me, the basically realise that a lot of these companies will eventually like ATV and start introducing these things on stop chopping down trees and they'll claim to be the hero.
I hope so. I hope that's the way it is. Yes, sir.
I'm just about to mention that while we were talking about educating people about affecting change in the world, that sort of things happen. People have distributed this paper and it's for World Environment Day, which is coming up in about 6 weeks or something. And there's been 2 meetings of people just sort of independent people talking about what we're going to do. We've done a little bit, but we really need more people to come along and give their ideas in there in getting involved and organising. And there's like organising meetings happening on every Sunday up to the day of June. No, June 3. And so therefore
I hope you don't mind, but I think that in fact we ought to be bringing this evening to an end. Is there any strong objection to that? I know there are some people who still have questions, but I wonder if you might be able to just ask Jack those questions privately. Because... All right, yeah, okay. 1 against 200, off you go.
Public Australia, you're representing the recent hemp symposium in Frankfurt, right? What does that say about how much people know and how much big business know in this country? Big business will not take on hemp until they know how to do it and they don't fall flat their face doing it, right? The information has to be spread, Jack is right. Everybody you know needs to know about this, and everybody you know that you tell me to tell everyone they know. That's the only way to get it out. The only way to do it is by information, by literature.
Thanks very much. Look, just before the meeting breaks up, could I actually refer to the motions? I read you out before we broke halfway through tonight. There was a resolution in 2 parts. Several people came to speak to me about that, and I think it sort of really reflects the way different people in the hall feel about the subject of hemp. Some people are interested primarily in the recreational uses. Some people have no interest in that at all. They simply don't want people who use it recreationally to go to jail for it. They are interested in the ecological, environmental, industrial benefits of hemp substitution for existing unacceptable products. And there are others still who are interested in the therapeutic uses of cannabis. So I'd like to suggest to you that we could announce from this meeting that this general public meeting in Glebe of approximately 200 people considered these 3 resolutions, and I'll put them separately. First, this meeting calls upon the New South Wales Government to remove immediately all criminal sanctions on the personal possession and use of cannabis. All those in favour? Any against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. That's great. The second resolution is that this meeting calls upon the New South Wales Government to promote an economically and ecologically sustainable hemp industry. I'll put that resolution. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? No? This is very parliamentary, isn't it, Richard? Sorry. Yes. Yes, the ayes have it. Carried unanimously. Thank you. And the third resolution is one that I'm particularly interested in, that this meeting calls upon the New South Wales Government to grant exemptions for the medically supervised therapeutic use of cannabis. I'll put that resolution. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thanks very much. Now, could I just very warmly and sincerely thank Jack Herer on your behalf? And Lynn. And the sort of strategic work that Lynn Osborne is doing as well is terribly important to us all. Every movement needs people like Jack Herer, and we're very grateful to have met him and very grateful for his time here tonight. He's going to be speaking in Brisbane and Adelaide and Melbourne, wonderful capital cities, and he's also going to be speaking in Nimbin at the weekend, which is very important. Thank you very much for coming. Good luck.